If you have questions, you can holler at me. But DCPI is Friday and Saturday. We're doing the essentials, and looking forward to it. We've got, I don't know, we may have 10 or more, I think, signed up already. So we're going to have a good time. It's just a great time of essentials. I've been working on the lessons, going over mine, and it's going to be good stuff. It'll be helpful to those involved. This Sunday, Nixa celebrates their celebration and anniversary celebration. So I'll be over at Nixa tomorrow. I'll be up in Kansas City with NBC as we're getting ready. And then Friday and Saturday will be DCPI, and then Sunday at Nixa. Monday, Roaring River. I hope you guys are all trying to come to that. Just a great, fun, relaxed time. Our Nehemiah builders are doing all the cooking. You just come. If you got kids not in school or whatever that can come, hey, we want everybody to come, and we'll just have a great time. Roaring River Monday. Then Team Base coming up with Dr. David Graves. I've been talking with him today and the topics that we're talking about, and looking forward to that. Pastor's Forum. You just got an email today on that from the office and from Dustin. It is a preaching day down at SNU, and the Sunday school is going to really take on the cost of that. So we'll all go down together. We talked about this quite a while back, a couple of the meetings, on how important it is for us to get together and have these moments when we get to laugh and cry, whatever, celebrate together. And so this is one of those moments, and just felt like it was too good of a deal to pass up. So Pastors Forum, pretty much the cost is taken care of, and we'd love to have you join us on that. Then the very first PLT, so that's the gathering of the two MAC areas together, and that's the very first one is in Chanute, and it's coming up. So if you are in that area, hopefully the MAC leaders have already contacted you up there, and we're looking forward to joining together up north. Then Cymbala is October the 26th, and then we again hope you can join us for the Christmas banquet, and we'll have gifts for everybody, and then we'll have some drawings. We'll have a fun time sharing the Christmas story and just getting together for a great time of fellowship. All right. So what I want to do now is I want to talk to us about change. And so I want to preface this, the lesson tonight by this statement. The DAB, we were in full agreement yesterday that we're going to do our best, and I'm going to lead that charge in slowing down the conversations that start with, well, before COVID, okay? So how big were you before COVID? What were you doing before COVID? What happened before COVID? We're going to try and slow that conversation down till we hopefully would get rid of it. And so as we look, even graphs and numbers, we probably will quit trying to compare 4 years ago and 3 years ago to now. It's not fair. You can't do it. I don't think it's good for you guys and gals. So we're going to try and put the brakes to that conversation. I'm going to try and catch myself in saying it, and we'll all work together, hopefully for a good cause on that. Okay. So that prefaces what I want to say tonight about change. The largest church in the world is in South Korea, Seoul Gospel Church. It has 830,000 members, 830,000 members. Of course, they don't meet in a building, as you would know. In order to meet, as they started to grow, the pastor said, what can we do? And so they created small groups. This was years ago, small groups, house churches, where they would get together and share the lessons and share life together. That concept divided them out, moved them out from one central place to many. It was a change for their entire church. All of us, I think, we like change. We just don't like what occurs with change. I think when I say that is, I think that we like change. We don't like the loss that comes with change. So when we change things, there's a loss of something of the change. So let me give an example. So when we change to a different music style, and I don't care what music style that is, when we change from a music style to one to the other, that change may be well liked, but there is a loss for some on the music style. Or any ministry that you do in your church, when you make a change, there's a loss. And if there's a loss, now listen, there's a grief process in that. So when you make changes and you get rid of things, sometimes there's grief and sometimes there's in that loss, and you have to figure out how to work within it. So change occurs on a regular basis in most all of our lives. Just real quick, I thought I'd throw this back out to you real quick. Can you think of a time in your life when there was change, but it came with a loss? Can you just real quick, you can unmute yourself, just, and don't give us a dialogue tonight, just change, loss. Can you think of something that happened along that line?
Yeah, I can think of one quickly. When I became a Christian, there was a fear of all the people that were in my life were going to just vanish, friends and all. But the Lord worked that out better than I ever thought. But there was that fear of the new life being different than the old life was.
Okay, good. Somebody else? Change, loss?
We're going through it right now. I mean, we're getting ready to move back to the States. I think you mentioned that. I was still finishing up breakfast. And I know you know about the other situation that I've been helping with recently with the creative access stuff. Those families went through a loss because it was forced upon them. I'm going through a loss because I want to move, right? But still, my wife and I we sit down and we're like, okay, we're getting rid of this, we're getting rid of it. Like we're moving literally across the world, like to the other half of, like 6,000 miles. So we're losing, almost everything that we've built up here. And it's actually, I'm not saying it's not about wealth. It's like there's stuff and there's relationships and there's places we know. Where do you go every day to get your coffee? Well, that's gone. You're never going to go there again. I mean, even the little things, right? So even when you want to make a change and it's a really good one and you're excited for it, there's still like these things we were thinking about. We were talking about it. Okay. We've been talking about it for, past few weeks. Just thinking about, we have to sell all this and we have to clear out our house and we have to, just so much. Even when you want the change, there's still, you lose a lot.
Okay. Somebody else? Change, loss for you?
I bought a new car once and I lost my pickup truck.
Oh, that's funny. All right. Anybody else? That was funny. All right, let's keep moving then. Ken Blanchard, some of you would know him as the guy that wrote the 1 Minute Manager. Ken Blanchard said, the thinking that got you to where you are today will not take you where you need to go tomorrow. The thinking that got you to where you are today will not take you where you need to be tomorrow. So the changes, of course, continue. Last month, I showed you this book. I'm showing you it again because I'm so shook as I read this thing. It's just unbelievable. So let me give you some quick facts. Oh, there's Steve's got one right there. Yeah, great. Okay. Well, Steve, you can be shook with me as we read this. It's quite a deal. Let me give you some stats they gave to me in this last portion that I've been reading here in the last few weeks. 18-year-olds are out of the house. 18-year-olds are out less than 14-year-olds were a few years ago. Okay. Here's another one. The IGNs will date less and stay at home more in these years. Teen birth rate was at 6% in the 90s. Today, it's at 2.4% of girls who are 15 to 19. So the teen birth pregnancy rate is dropping, and you could say at a pretty drastic rate when you talk about that much percentage points, because you're talking about over 3 points. It's dropped in 20 years. The age of mothers continues to get older. So women are waiting till they're older to have children. 1 out of every 14, this is crazy to me, 1 out of every 4 teens will not have a driver's license at graduation. Think about that one. High school consumption of alcohol is down. And it's down by quite a bit. Now watch this. Consumption at college is up. So as I read this, what it appears to me is happening is that our teens are staying at home more, they're around adults more, so they're not drinking, they're not partying. But once they get out of that environment into the college, then they're making up for lost time, which I think leads us into a really strong possibility of alcoholism in ways that maybe we have never seen before in the United States. It's bad now. If this continues, I could see where it could get worse. So these are changing days in our lives. The old wineskins won't work anymore. We're going to have new wineskins to hold the ever-changing new message of Jesus Christ that comes out of Luke chapter 5. So let me give to you 10 things that I think you need to remember. And hopefully if you've got your worksheets out, you can look at those or on your computer. Number 1, we're going to have to work at becoming a better leader. And can I applaud you tonight for being with us? I appreciate the time it takes to come and join us. I thank you for leading, and I call that leading well tonight. So thank you for joining us. But work at becoming a better leader. You are not at the pinnacle. You may not even have started up. And if you think you're at the tip, if you think you're in the elite, you're probably farther down the chart than you think you are. Now, let me illustrate that. At the summit this year more than any year that I've ever heard, when there was a speaker that spoke, and then later on in the sessions, the speakers were referring to the speakers who spoke before them, even to the day before. It was more than ever before. And what I realized was that they had all scheduled themselves to stay for all of the summit. And then they were in the auditorium to hear the speaker speak. So here's what I learned really quick. Those leaders did not think they had arrived. They knew they were making big dollars. I mean, they're known, they're all over the world, but they were saying there's more that I can learn from these folks. I don't even know them, but I can learn. And I think that's the attitude that all of us should have is, I can never get to the point that I know everything and that I'm at a pinnacle. I'm with the elite and you can't teach me any. I think that's a dangerous place to be at. Okay. So number 2, have an authentic relationship with Jesus. And when I say authentic, in these days, because of the changes that we're seeing in the 30-year-olds and 20-year-olds, when I say authentic, I mean a daily conversation with Jesus is crucial to having that living dynamic relationship. Okay. Number two, become a visionary leader. People will follow people with a vision. If you don't have a vision, you're going to lose your people. Have a dream that's going to take you someplace. And we're excited. The MAC leaders met last Thursday, and man, we just beat this stuff over, trying to help our pastors get to a spot to say, what can we do to help all of us reach more people for Jesus? And so I'm looking forward to, as they continue to work on this whole idea of this kind of this mapping, strategic planning, how to win people to Jesus idea. Number four, develop an appropriate sense of inadequacy. And when I say appropriate, I would say that when we look at this, the inadequacy is that I can't perform all this on my own. I'm not good enough. I'm gonna, not to the point that you don't get up not to speak or whatever, but the fact that the idea of I need help to do what I'm doing. And so I'm going to lean on someone who's bigger than I am, who's more powerful than I am. And I'm going to acknowledge I don't have what it takes to pull this off. Does that all make sense to everybody? So it's developing an appropriate sense of inadequacy. Inadequacy. Number five, keep your family as a priority. Keep your family as a priority. I can't say this loud or long enough. You can do great things in the church, but if you lose your family, especially at a young age, and we've not tried to keep this as a secret. We have our two oldest are in this idea of intellectualizing the gospel. And so there is this pushback on, do we really need church? Is the Bible really the authentic word of God? Is sin really sin? Does God really punish sin, or is God all loving? Does he allow all sin into the relationship? So we are struggling with that. Okay. Now looking back, Ron and I have talked a lot about this, and I don't think we would say to you tonight that we didn't love our kids and we didn't go to their ball games and do their thing. There is a point when we have to let go and they have to make their decisions. So for all of you who are listening tonight, who don't have kids or you have young kids, let me just encourage you that do whatever you have to do to hold them into the place where they need to be so they can see a walk with Jesus. And then, like it or not, we all have to let go. And we're trusting. Our prayer for our two oldest girls are that they will miss Jesus so much that they'll want him back into their lives the way he used to be. Now, I'm not judging them, and I'm not saying they're not Christians. That's not my deal. But what I'm saying is what they're doing and the way they're talking is not who they were a few years ago. Okay, so just kind of bear in my heart with you right there. Number 6, do not be satisfied with status quo. Don't be satisfied with status quo. No, in other words, in your own journey, and I would say this spiritually, don't get to the spot where you think you don't need devotions, or you don't need time with the master, or you don't need time to reflect on the word, or you don't need to learn more about leadership. Never get to the spot where you need that. I tell all of us in tough times, lift your head and look up, because the master's looking down and he's caring about you, and he wants to see your heart and your eyes, and let him see that. Number 7, demonstrate a passion for the lost. Demonstrate a passion for the lost. Number 8, have a set of core values that you believe in yourself and don't vary from them. Whatever they are, however you want to look at it. I think everybody can have those different. And I actually think a church can have different sets of core values, and I'm okay with that. But what I'm saying is, once you find true north, if you're in my office, you always, when you walk in, you will see my little compass. It's there for a reason. I keep it there to continually remind me of making sure that I'm true north in my own journey. So it's there as a reminder for me. Number 9, I'm not good at this one because I don't like it at all. It's the idea of getting tough skin. So I like everybody to like me. I'm into everybody to get along. Let's all have a great time. When there's tension, I'm like, can I go hide? When there's tough times, I want somebody else to handle it. I'm not into that. And so I worked here in the last few years, worked hard at toughening up my skin. Anybody here, a favorite TV show is Blue Bloods? Anybody besides me? Okay. I want to be like the chief. That's like, he doesn't care. It's just, he does what's right and he doesn't care what happens. I look at Ronna and say, oh, I long to be able to make those decisions like that and then go, okay, let's go home. I just can't do that. I wrestle with those things, and maybe you do too, I don't know. But I'm working hard at trying to get some tough skin and learning to handle negative statements and actions properly, so I don't internalize them, I don't personalize them, I hear them, and then I work with them in that situation.
Well, Tom Selleck has a mustache. Maybe you need to grow a mustache like Tom Selleck here, Phil.
Not if I want to stay married. Good try, though. Number 10, love everyone, even those who don't see as you see. I read a couple things this week, really good stuff. And it's simply this: Jesus wasn't a Democrat. He wasn't a Republican. He didn't ask people, are you a Republican? Are you a Democrat? He didn't ask people, do you wear a mask? Do you not wear a mask? That wasn't part of his deal. He just loved people. And that's part of our task is to love people no matter who they are or what they're like. We just keep loving people, mask or no mask, shot or no shot. We're loving people. Can I get an amen on that? All right. Let's love people. All right. Then the next section here is 10 change realities. 10 change realities. Number 1, an unchanging church does not exist. So churches that don't change don't exist. Every living organism changes. So as we go through this process, as we quit comparing about what we were before, we make adaptations now so that we can minister better in these days. Okay. Number 2, without change, there's no change. Now just hang on. Without change, there's no change. Change doesn't occur by itself. So now hang on, let me get to this next one. Okay, number 3. There is discomfort and pain in change. So we talked about the loss that takes place, all right? And the concept of without change, there's no change. In other words, if you don't decide that you're going to make changes, there won't be changes. If you don't make those internal decisions, you won't have external decisions that will be made. And that will come up with number 8, I think, on your sheet. So let's keep moving. Number 3, there is discomfort and pain and change. That's back to the loss. All right, there's loss in that. Number 4, this is This is concrete. This is lock it in. This is not mine. But I'm telling you, perception is reality. And if you want to have a good argument with somebody, just question their perception about whatever you're talking about. And I promise you, you'll end up with a knockdown, drag out argument. Because perception, what I perceive to me is reality. It may be way off base, but I'm telling you, those people see that as the concrete and they will die for it. I'm amazed at what people will do when it comes to this issue. Number 5, what people don't understand, they will be against. That one's worth the entire time of you being with us tonight. What people don't understand, they will be against. If you don't explain the changes and you do a sufficient enough job when you make changes, people will be against it because of the pain of loss. Woo! I'm telling you, that's worth it right there tonight. What people don't understand, they will be against. So if you make changes that you don't explain them early enough, the earlier you explain changes and you have emotional responses to the changes, the better off you will be when the change occurs. So you make your announcement of your change way early on your schedule, and you give people time to respond, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, 7 months. Hey, we're going to be doing this. This is coming. This is coming. By the time you get there, if you've announced it and explained it and talked about it, it will be no big deal when it comes. If you don't do that, and you go to 2 services and you announce you're going to have 2 services in 3 weeks, you will have chaos in your church. Okay? You can't do that. If you're going to add a new ministry and you're going to say, hey, in 2 weeks, we're adding this ministry, and you don't explain it, you don't give people time to talk about it and to process it, it will not be good. So the earlier you do it, the better off you will be. Number 6, change often means, let me stop right there. Any questions? I am pouring on the faucet tonight, I know. Any questions on that one? Everybody good? All hearts and minds clear? Okay, all right. Number 6, change often means we have to give up something from the past. Change means we have to give up something from the past. Seven, change is a process. It does not happen immediately. It's a process that changes. So when you're changing things in your personal life or in the life of the church, I would think it would be a good thing for you to write down steps that this is going to occur in. Dates, time frames, timelines, this is all going to occur. Change often means we give up something from the past. Change is a process. Number 8, this is what I referred to a while ago. Transition occurs before change. So transition is internal, change is external. As a leader, you have to make an internal change before you can lead in the external way. So let's just let's go back to the 2 services again. Let's say you think you've been talking about 2 services, or you've been thinking about it. Here's what needs to happen. You need to believe that going to 2 services is the best thing for your church. So when you begin to talk about it, people will see the urgency in your voice, in your face, in how you're doing it, and that you believe in it, and you think this is the best way. You see maybe some sidelines and some other thoughts, but you're seeing this as a really important step in all of that. So when that happens, then you realize there is going to be a process in all of this. And for them, they're going to be behind you almost always. You should lead in the change, then they follow. Number 9, everyone adapts to change at their own rate. Probably a mistake I made was thinking that everybody was on the same page with me at all times. And when I would make changes or talk about stuff, I thought everybody was in on it. Just because somebody doesn't say something to you does not mean they agree. And as leaders, here's what I think happens, especially with people who have low self-esteem. When you make a change as a leader and they have low self-esteem, they do not want to feel that angst of being against you and what might happen in the relationship. So they don't say anything and they swallow all those thoughts, emotions, and feelings, thinking, I don't want to cause problems. This will be good. This will be okay. They push it and push it down. And it gets to a spot where it's not good. It's not healthy for them. Okay. So here's the illustration I use when I talk about that. If you've ever gone to the swimming pool with your kids and you've taken a beach ball with you and you've batted the ball around in the pool, and then as always, one of the parents gets that ball and then they start hiding it. And eventually you put it behind your back and you go, where's the ball? And, the kids are going, I don't know, then it shows up and it's over here. And then pretty soon they start getting wise to, it's behind your back. The next thing you know, you've got the ball behind your back. Now you're pushing it into the water so they can't see it. And you're trying to surprise them. Then they figure out what's going on. And then you push it deeper. And so they start, messing with you. And when they start pushing you in the water and you're trying to hold the ball down, the farther down you try to hold the ball, the easier it is for them to knock you over. The farther down the ball is, the higher up the ball comes when it comes out of the water. Everybody got my story? Okay, that's what we do with things in our lives. We hold things, feelings, hurts, processes. We try to hide them from people. We push them down. We don't want people to see. We don't want people to know. We're down. And pretty soon when the water starts moving, and pretty soon up comes our emotions and our thoughts, and people are going, where did that come from? Well, it came from holding the ball down so long that you no longer could hold your ball and your emotions, your thoughts and your feelings down. Okay. So in all of our lives, as we work at this idea of change, please understand that people will change at different rates. Not everybody's going to be on with you all at the same time at the same place. And the last one tonight is, just because it worked at another church or another location, or it worked 10 years ago, does not mean it will work now. Don't make the mistake of saying, well, it worked over there, it worked over here, it works for that church, so it's got to work for us. Just because it works for them does not mean it will work for you. Everybody with me? That makes sense? Okay. So I'm not trying to put down anybody. I'm just saying Saul's armor may not fit you. In case you're wondering, that'll preach. Saul's armor will not fit you. You have to have your own armor sized just for you. And for some of us, all it is 5 stones and a slingshot. No sword, no breastplate, no shin guards, no spear, no helmet. We just stand before the enemy with a slingshot. Change is inevitable and change is important. And we are going to have to realize that we are going to be part of that change and we have to make it right. So let me ask 2 questions and then we'll close tonight, okay? Number 1, as we've talked about this tonight, has any, you don't have to answer this out loud, has anything occurred to you that says what needs to change in your life or in your ministry or in your church? You're thinking, what needs to change? Has anything just floated to the top and you're like, okay, I get that. What needs to change? The second one is, why should we change it? what needs to change, and why should I change it? The why question is really important for all of us. Why do we do what we do? Why are we doing soul winning? Why are we doing this ministry? Why are we spending money for kids? Why are we buying backpacks? Why are we buying chocolate covered strawberries? Why are we buying backpacks for firefighters? Why are we doing that? The why question is crucial. You have to answer the why question in all of that. Okay. So now I want to throw it back to you before we close tonight. So comments, thoughts, statements. You've been chatting, and when I'm doing this, I can't watch all the chats. But any thoughts, any comments, any pushbacks, anything you want to say? Say, I don't agree with that. What about this? Any comments tonight?
Yeah, Phil.
Yeah.
Something that just kind of sparked in me, and I thought maybe it would be valuable when talking about change, because it was very valuable for me, was we attended a church training seminar where Brother Win Langford came and spoke.
Yeah.
And I was kind of wrestling with some changes and things at the time, but also having a lot of opposing voices raising up against the changes. And something that was extremely valuable at that time, and hopefully might help somebody here now, was Wynn taught us that when you do make a change, there's a 15, 15, 70 rule. 15, 15, 70. 15% will hate it, 15% will love it, and 70% are just listening to the loudest voice in the room. And so he said, don't try to change the mind of the 15% that hate it. Just be the louder voice in the room. And that was extremely helpful for me with some changes that needed to happen.
And that was Win Langford?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Sean. Anybody else? Questions or thoughts, comments?
I think over the last 4 years, I've been through quite a bit of change. And I think one of the things is you said something about the low self-esteem in that change type of communication. I think also we need to, as leaders, we have to sit back and listen. And as you said, like the loudest in the room, when we're thinking about changing, and what that looks like, a lot of times you have to walk with them in the midst of the change, and putting them through like that 6 to 7 month period instead of just throwing it at them. I think listening to their voices and not just always shutting down what they're saying, to just like really listen to that, and then hear what they're saying in that, and then walk with them in that change. Because I've seen it done really well, and I've seen it not done as well, and I've not done it very well as well. So I think just watching them go through that and just really listening to them, because sometimes we can be like, well, they're just against us, and sometimes they're just not understanding, or they're in that lost period. And so just to really listen to them. It's not maybe that they have self-esteem, they're giving you a lot of respect, and they respect you in that change, but they're kind of mourning it as well. So to walk with them, and not just say that they have low self-esteem. I think sometimes just walking with them would be.
I have a question.
I heard somebody.
How do you get thick? You mentioned earlier getting thicker skin.
Okay, you're cutting out, so try it one more time.
How do you get thicker skin?
How do you get thicker
You mentioned
skin?
earlier.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so how do you get? So let me turn it back. Some of you who have gone through some of this, what would you say to Austin? He's brand new into the ministry. How do you get thicker skin when tough people are coming at you?
Well, one thing I've always done way back was consider the source, but now it's sort of shifted because most of the time, a lot of the opposition outside the church, they're not hating me, they're hating Christ, and so the Bible is really dealt with that issue. Problem comes when it's in the church, and most often you have to tell yourself that it's not a personal attack; it's an attack on the issues. And so you have to learn not to take it personal. At least that's what I try to do. So I don't know if that helps.
Everybody see what Mike just said?
But,
Okay, so I'm looking here. So Todd, it looks like you've probably had the most ministerial experience, and then probably Jake. So what would you guys say about, help us out tonight on how do you get tough skin? Todd or Jake? Jake, looks like you're off, so go.
Well, one of the best ways is to have good mentors around you, and make sure before you pull the trigger on change that you bounce it off of them, get some other input, because you cannot underestimate the power of the loss and grief that people will have if you step on them. So another way that really helped is when you have to make a change for the good of the church, and not everybody agrees, and you have 15% that fly off the handle. In my case, they left the church. But what validated the change that we were making was that they went to churches that had already made the exact same changes. And so they didn't want to see their home church change because the grief was too great. But they turned around and realized it was kingdom good stuff, and they went to churches that had just made the same changes. So you have to learn as you go, but make sure that you're bouncing these ideas, especially when it comes to change, off of your mentors. And I don't mean people that agree with you. I mean people that'll put their arm around you and go, that's stupid. Don't do that. Because you gotta be sure that what you're doing is for the kingdom's good, and not because you don't like something.
Right.
And then the other thing is process it. Let them process it. As Pastor Phil said, get way out in front of the change. Talk about it. Talk about it in terms of why you need to do this, and give them time to say, well, I don't like that. And meet with them in their living room and say, well, you may not like it, but so that's what I would say about that.
Jake, you cut out right at the very end of that. You meet them in the living room, they may not like it, and then you said something.
And ask them, but do you see why church needs this?
Gotcha. Okay.
So don't let them just stay on the negative. Turn them to where we're going. Okay. And turn them into the vision.
Okay. Todd, you got some thoughts?
Sure. I've always got thoughts. Austin, your question is awesome because you can't get it overnight. For me, as I was thinking through this while Jake was talking, I think you'll have to learn to survive the moments. There are, when you're younger, moments come up and they can flatten you. You have to learn to survive those moments. And I don't know if you want to call them coping mechanisms or things that you can learn to do to get from that moment to the next day, the next week, however long it is that this is going to be a difficult time, whether it's friendships, whether it's a staff member that you can trust, you can depend on, whether it's being around and rallying around people that know you and know your heart and know who you really are. That helps you develop tough skin from the standpoint of you can survive the moment. Most of the time when I have made dumb mistakes, I did it in the moment. and I didn't survive the moment when I was being attacked or misunderstood, or sometimes even when there was truth to what was being said, but it was just being said so unkindly and so threateningly. One last thing I would say though is you really have to be careful as you're trying to toughen yourself up to not toughen yourself toward people. Sometimes when we develop tough skin, we start developing toughness toward people. And God's always given me a pastor's heart, and I'm thankful for that. But if you're not careful in trying to defend yourself and trying to keep your equilibrium, you can begin to develop toughness against people. And once you do that, your ministry to them is over. And then what can happen is other people, even if you don't even realize it, will notice that in you, and you will become lower in their eyes. So learn how to survive the moment, and don't let the moments get you jaded toward God's people. That's my 2 cents.
Good, very good, good. Thanks, guys. That was great. Other thoughts? Any question? Well, let me ask. Any questions? Anybody that we need to clarify anything? Okay. I love moments like we just had when Austin, thank you for asking, not being afraid to ask the question. Thank you to those of you who answered, opening up to that. And maybe some of you may have direct chatted him your answer, I don't know, some thoughts, and that's fine. I just love the idea that I really do believe we get better together. And so thank you for helping each other and making a difference in each other's journeys. So thanks for loving on each other, encouraging each other. So I will close tonight. I'm looking for Steve Wireman. See, did I lose him? I don't see him. Okay. I guess you all can make fun of Steve. He left church and he had the closing prayer. Everybody text Steve. Now that'll teach you. Donna, then, hey, pray for us tonight and ask God to help us as we face these ever-changing days, okay?
Father, we thank you for change, because change is how we get to be more like you. And we thank you for the growth that we've all had in our lives because of change. And I pray right now a great blessing over these people as they shepherd their sheep and help their sheep to listen to their voice as well as more to your voice. And we pray all of this in Jesus' name, amen. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Hey, you guys have a great rest of the evening and a great week. God bless you. Love you guys.
Bye.
Hey, Phil.
Yes.
So I was thinking about something.
Okay.
And, I know we kind of like, okay, let's go hunt out change, right? And most of the time, change is